In this episode of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast, we talk about what to do after you think you haven't made it onto the show that you've applied for and what to do next, all in this episode of the podcast. Welcome to the How to Get on Reality TV podcast with Dan Giesling, where I answer your reality TV casting questions once a week. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast. My name is Dan Giesling, and we have a great question this week from Hannah, who wants to know what happens when you figure out you're not going to be on the show you want to be for that particular season. Before we get into her question, though, I do want to remind you guys that if you haven't had a chance to sign up for the email newsletter that I send out once a week, you should do so. Why? Because on that email that I send out, you get notified about the podcast, and taking it one step further. So after we answer this question from Hannah, I'm going to take it one step further just for those of you guys that are subscribed on the email list, as well as casting calls, 3 casting calls every week. We've increased that. Are going to go out in the same email for you guys to practice and try and maybe find out about some shows that you weren't aware that were out there. You can sign up for this list at howtogetonrealitytv.net/calls. There's no spam, just one email a week, personally typed by myself, just trying to help us normal folks get on reality TV. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this week's question from Hannah.
Hi Dan, this is Hannah. I have a question. I applied back in October for Big Brother 17, so I'm currently waiting to see if I get called for the next round of casting. But my question is not exactly how to get on the show, but what should I do if I find out that I do not get on the show? What are some things I can do to improve my chances for next year and to make myself stand out a little bit more? I know that you applied for Big Brother many times, and I'm just wondering what you did to improve and what I could do to improve.
All right, Hannah, great question, and thank you so much for submitting your question to the show because you're helping drive the show. When you guys ask questions, when you submit questions through the website or through the app, it's what makes the show go. So, Hannah, first off, thank you, and second off, the thing I want to tell you is don't get discouraged because depending on what show you're applying for, comes a certain point in time and you're like, I probably should have heard back by now. And, I get this email all the time from people that says, hey, Dan, I applied. When should I hear back? I don't know. But if they want you on the show, they're gonna call you. They're going to email you. They're going to get in touch with you. So, depending on the show schedule and who's casting and that sort of thing, the contact and how they respond to you is going to be completely different. But the big thing is that once you feel like you've put it all out there, you've put out your best audition video, or contrary to what I recommend, or you went to a casting call, you feel like you did the best you can, that's all you can do. And the best thing to do is walk away. But that is actually not Hannah's question. Hannah's question is that she's come to the realization. She's not asking, hey, when am I going to hear back? She understands that, look, I'm not going to be on this season. And I think that's really important to understand when to, I don't want to say not keep hope alive, but to understand, okay, look, it's not going to happen. Let me focus on next year, which sounds like is exactly what Hannah's doing, which is encouraging because she's not thinking, oh, woe is me, why didn't I get on? She's like thinking, okay, well, I didn't get on this season. What can I do different? And that's really, really important. So I kind of broke it down into 3 things for you, Hannah. I hope this helps. So number 1 is, what would I recommend that you do? I would, from this point forward until the next time the show that you're trying to get on comes around and opens up casting again, I would apply for many different shows. Even though they may not be your number 1 choice, you're going to gain a ton of casting experience. Send in some videos. You can just tweak your old video and just change the intro and outro. I tell people this all the time. Just keep the meat of your video the same. Change the intro, outro. If you're applying for a show that, hey, you could care less about, go to some open casting calls, because the more you get comfortable in front of a camera, the more you get comfortable in looking at someone, the camera right here with someone right there asking you questions to tell how great you are. Like, you're going to get better and better at that over time. And it's very rare. I would say very rare. If you got on reality TV for a one-shot audition, hats off to you. I wasn't able to do that. I know a lot of other people aren't able to do that. And this podcast isn't for those type of people that can just one-shot it and get on. It's for the people that are looking to tweak and get better. So number 1 thing I'd recommend is apply for multiple shows. Even if there's very little interest for you to be cast on it, it's good for you just to go through the process and kind of lower your level of I don't want to say anxiety or anticipation, so you're not dealing with those feelings or those emotions the next time you apply for the show that you really want to go on. So number one is I would definitely apply for multiple shows. Number two is review your story. And here's how you review your story. Look at your audition video that you sent in, or go through and play through your open call that you went to. And can you give yourself a clear chyron? In the last podcast, I talked about exactly what a chyron is, but can you give yourself a clear, non-standard, non-average chyron? So if you're just Hannah, college student, that's not, in my opinion, that's not enough. That's not unique enough. And so if you review your story and you're like, well, Dan, that's all I talked about, well, you got to talk about something different. So you need to develop your story. So the second thing is review your story. And what chyron would you give yourself? Is it something just standard every day? If so, then that tells you need to work on it. If not, then hey, look, there could be some other factors into play. And then the third thing is mix it up the next time you apply for the show you really want to go on. So, for example, if a year goes by and you didn't hear anything, don't send in the exact same story, the exact same audition video. Even if you're reshooting it with the same story, mix it up, change your storyline, try some different things, because you can't do the same thing over and over again and expect to get a callback. You got to mix it up. And I know certain parts in casting are going to change. You may have someone, a regional casting assistant, that's going to be different from year to year. But just mix it up. Don't do the same thing over and over again. You should, every year you apply, or every time you apply, you should be getting better. And the only way you're going to get better is by changing it up and trying new things to see if they work. So quick recap for you, Hannah. Apply for multiple shows. Review your story. And give yourself a chyron based on that story and analyze that chyron. And number three, mix it up the next time you apply. So do something completely different, change it up, especially if you haven't heard anything. That's the little asterisk. If you didn't hear anything from casting, then you want to mix it up. If you maybe got a callback, maybe you got to semifinals, then you're on the right track. But that's a whole different story. Well, Hannah, I want to thank you again for sending in your question to howtogetonrealitytv.net/ask. As a small thank you, we're going to be sending you a free digital copy of my story, How a Normal Guy Got Cast on Reality TV. And it takes a look into the 4-year journey of me getting cast on reality TV, and hopefully it provides you some insight and some help into getting cast yourself. So Hannah, thank you so much, and I appreciate you taking the time to send in a question. All right, so that wraps up another episode of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast. I'm going to take Hannah's question one step further. In the email list, I'm going to give a fourth tip in the email list for those of you guys. As a small thank you for those of you guys that have signed up to get the weekly email from myself. And if you haven't yet had a chance to do that, I encourage you to do so. You can sign up for it by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/calls. Well, that wraps up this episode. If you guys have a question that you want to ask, and maybe you're on the fence, and maybe you don't want to ask it, but I'm going to push you and say, hey, you should ask it, because just like Hannah asked this question, I'm going out on a limb and saying that it's helped some other people just by her putting herself out there on this question. I would encourage you guys to do the same. If you have a question you want to ask, you can go ahead and submit a voice question, you can do it from a browser, you can do it from your phone. It's really easy, very straightforward. You can do it by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/ask. And I will see you guys next Monday for episode 29. Have a great week, and good luck for those guys that are applying or maybe in the casting process for the show that you want right now. See you guys next week.